fuck? I too love video games.
I'm Raph, and I also like video games.
And welcome to the Game Treasure Podcast, where we discuss treasure video games of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Why am I whispering? Because I'm spooked.
We're so scared.
I'm spooked and scared because I've been playing some scary games. Because the topic of today is a horror Steam, not a hot Steam. That's right. Today we're doing a mixed grab bag of Steam games, Steam horror games. We honestly have Raph's Steam library of horror games is so large. There's so many games we wanted to talk about. And next week, we're going to be talking about the Silent Hill 2 remake. I was streaming Silent Hill 2 online the other day in full frame Big Brother vision. You can go check that out on our
Really cool. That was really fun to watch.
And
less than you could see.
So I was like, fuck it, let's just do a grab bag episode. Let's just each pick a game, and we'll each like gab about a different game that we can be new or maybe a little bit older if we want. Anyhow, I digress.
I call this segment let's try to find a game that Raph hasn't played already.
Right, yes. Today, we actually do have some pretty interesting video game news.
Where does that sound come from?
Today, I wanted to talk about, because it's now or never, to crack jokes about this. It's because this is the first episode we've done after this got announced. This is the $99 Nintendo alarm clock.
I feel like you should inject really loud alarm clock sounds like in this segment.
It's called Time to Spend Money.
Have you guys seen some of the memes around this?
Can I first say that it's called the Alarmo?
Yep.
Which is like... It's
first
big
draft energy,
first draft energy. Yeah, it reminds me of the Osimo from South Park. He tries. It is a alarm clock with a little digital display on it that wakes you up with Nintendo music.
Is that what it does? I'm gonna be honest. I haven't watched any of the trailers because I think it's so stupid. And
It looks so clunky. It looks like those Astro Boy boots that one like clothing company made. Where you know what I mean, like the big chunky. It's like hugely chunky. It's got this.
Oh yeah, the Pac-Man boots. The Pac-Man.
Those two, yes, they got this giant chunky circle on top that lights up different colors for stuff. Anyhow, it's got this display on it, and on the little display, you get a little like images of like Link running across or Mario. There's a bunch of different themes. There's like Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Splatoon. You can connect it to the fucking internet, and it'll like there will be new updates. They say if you connect it to
day one patch.
That's really fun.
I'm serious. It had a day one patch.
What it does differently than I guess a normal clock is it uses these sensors in that little circle at the top of the alarm clock to like see when you're moving. Like when in your bed, like when you're shifting around, like in the morning after it's like started to wake you up. And as it's, playing the music to wake you up, it'll play like sound effects in time with you moving, which I guess is fun. I guess. I don't know. Maybe I guess I would have to experience to see if it's really fun. And then when you get all the way up, it plays like another sound effect. Like it does like
you get all the way up, like when
yes,
you awake.
When you sit up in bed, it'll like do its little thing. And I read that like it'll start making sounds again if you go back to sleep or something. I don't know.
How does it know? Wait, how does it know?
I can guarantee you that for
it watches you. It fucking watches you. Nintendo's watching you.
Oh my god!
Nintendo's watching you sleep.
I was
literally.
Like, this reminds me of that new Amazon MMO that just came out. It has like a thing where you can do like a quick like face creator. Have you seen this? This is a side story, but that new Amazon MMO, I can't remember its name because I can't be bothered, but
I'm gonna call it Amazono.
It has like in its character creator menu, it's just like, hey, we actually created this new cool thing where you can actually make your face really easy. All we need is a picture of your face.
No, thank you. Yeah.
Just give Amazon a straight up fucking picture of your face so they can sell it to China. Anyhow, that's the stupidest thing the Nintendo's done since the cardboard box VR thing, and I love them for it.
Nintendo has a long line of doing wacky shit like this, right? Like Labo
this is
for
the
that,
most
right?
on-brand thing.
But go a little bit further back. They did the e-reader for the Game Boy Advance. Those weird little decks of cards you could buy to have add-ons for Animal Crossing or entire games like ice hockey and Game and Watch games and stuff.
Yeah,
Before that, the Game Boy camera. Before that, I mean, let's call the Virtual Boy a gimmick or a failed console, one of the two. Rob the Robot for the NES. So Nintendo,
they love it.
They like to make wacky stuff. We just all kind of thought it was like kind of behind them because the Switch and the Wii have been so successful. But
I love it. I love that they're like a toy company still.
Don't forget about Amiibos. They didn't
remember
forget
those,
about Amiibos.
right? Those Game & Watches they came out with a couple years ago that have like Zelda 1 and 2 on them, and then one of them's got like Mario 1 and 2 on it.
The Mario Kart Live little remote control cars.
Oh yeah.
Oh shit, that's right. You can chase your cats and stuff with Mario. Yeah,
those things are really cool too.
What's that fucking Robin Williams movie where he works in the toy factory?
Toys.
Is this is Nintendo toys. Reminds me of toys. Like they're just
Super
like
Nintendo platformer,
like really goofy.
based on that movie.
Look, really? I just want to say my favorite meme about this is like, what if you were able to use Ridley from Metroid as your alarm sound and just have him go ah?
Yeah.
Like, as soon as you wake up, just to
that screeching mother brain sound.
The music of the like escaping from Super Metroid would wake me up.
Yeah,
doom ba doom ba doom doom doom. You're like, oh my god, I gotta go. You're like,
or like the Zelda alert sound from Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. I bet the Breath of the Wild one's the best one to wake up to.
Oh god, it's just the Zelda "You're low on hearts" sound over and over. And
yeah. God, that's so funny. I love Nintendo. Never change. It's man.
Sorry, we're not buying one.
Yeah, no, it's $99, as I said before. That is an expensive-ass alarm clock when everyone uses their phone.
Sorry.
Our other story is pretty interesting. Steam has added some legalese to their checkout. That's basically, the summary is, you're buying a license, not a video game. So I'm not sure who broke this story originally. I didn't bother to look that up. But I do know that it spawned when the governor of California signed a law that basically forces more transparency in digital marketplaces. And so now Steam has added the words, a purchase of a digital product grants a license for the product on Steam. And then that's followed by a link to their user agreement, just like FYI.
Everyone else will follow suit. Every other digital platform will follow suit. All of the games that have all the digital stuff will follow it because otherwise they can't distribute or sell their game in California, and they don't want that to happen. They just add some legalese to
market. Yeah.
It's a big story that is something that everyone knew already. That is also something that we hate to admit. Steam is also like, you know what I mean? Like we love taking a shit on Xbox here. As a person who owns an Xbox and uses an Xbox, we love taking a shit on Game Pass. But it's just like, also Steam is, I guess, you don't own those games either.
You say that people already knew that, but I think a lot of people don't know that. I think a lot of people think that they own that game forever, and I hope the thing that changes the most about the landscape is the fact that when new games come out, game companies will charge the same amount of money for a digital copy as they will for a physical copy. I really want to play Metaphor ReFantazio, and I'd like to play it on PC because it's easier to play it on my Steam rather than getting a PS5 copy and having to link into my PS5 with like the Steam linking thing.
Yeah.
But it's still $70 whether I buy it digitally or I buy a nice physical copy that I own. And so I hope that that's the direction, if anything else, that it changes that they'll go, no, you pay 10 or 20 less bucks if you buy it digitally because there's no everything else.
Interesting.
It's ridiculous that
it would lead to more sales of digital games probably, which might lead to game companies or like Sony themselves, Microsoft themselves, not wanting to make physical games anymore. And then the physical games would go away, and then the price of the digital games would go back up again because all the physical games would be gone. It's a huge ploy.
It's funny. I hate to bring it up because I hate to give them any press at all. But if you follow GameStop's social media, they have done a complete heel turn in the last year. And a third of their posts are like, physical is the only way that it's really yours. Don't buy digital. Like, they got a new CEO, and they basically, the old one was just like, yeah, digital this. Yeah, let's sell this. Let's sell cryptocurrency. Let's sell DLC in store on cards. Let's do this. Not seeing the writing on the wall that you're a brick and mortar. If there's no more physical product, you don't have a store.
True.
Right.
And so they've made a complete 180 in going, nope, physical is it. You got to have how to have physical. It's got to be physical. And companies like Limited Run have just been killing it. They just announced that they're doing a physical release of 2 of the Yakuza remakes, the Kiwami 0 and 1, I believe, that never got physical releases in the States.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, and so it's like that's more the direction that I'm glad to see it's going in that too. And most importantly, like I said, I think there's a lot of people that just said, "No, I own it." It's like, "No, you don't. No, I have it in this. I have it in my Epic Games library. I have it in my
You're only
Steam
allowed
library,
to
whatever
play
else."
it. You don't own it. You're allowed
Yeah,
to
You
play
own
it.
a
fucking
license to play
shit.
that game.
Yeah.
Steam has been the leader in making sure that it doesn't go away. Like, it is very, very uncommon for an old game to get delisted on Steam, right? It's only when it has like legal troubles, like Dark and Darker has. So they've been the leaders at saying, no, we try our best to be like, you own it, air quotes. But you look at like the Game Pass and the others, and that's when it's like you don't own it. They're letting you rent titles to pemper. If it's a 40-hour RPG, you better time that right, or they're gonna get rid of Sea of Stars when you're halfway through the game.
Right.
That's kind of what happened to me with the PlayStation. I was playing Sea of Stars on there, and now it looks like it's locked on my console, which is annoying. Like I like Steam. I've always been a big fan of Steam. Game Pass took the Netflix model. They rotate games in and out, so you get a chance to play them for a little bit or complete them if you can get them done fast enough, and then they're gone, and then you have other games there, unless it's like an Elder Scrolls game because they're on forever. But Steam, like I buy them on there. That's why I prefer to use Steam. A lot of games are on Game Pass, and I just straight up, I'd rather buy it on Steam because I know it's going to be on there as long as Steam is probably around. Who knows?
That's a really good point too, because my son has been watching a lot of older movies. He just turned 13, so he's that age where he went like, I want to see all those movies.
I want to see the classics. Yeah,
we talked about all those, right? So we watched the first Back to the Future movie. I'm like, well, you got to watch the second one. He's like, oh, I want to watch this and this and this first. And I was like, oh, okay, no problem. A couple months goes by, and he goes, hey, it's not on wherever we watched it, Hulu or Netflix or Tubi or something. When he's like, it's not on there anymore. I'm like, yeah, that's modern streaming, dude. You waited, and their license expired on X date. And now the only way to do it is to buy it or rent it on some other digital platform. We were talking about scary movies, and I told him about 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later, which are some of my favorite old zombie movies. You have to buy 28 Days Later on any. I own a DVD copy. I'm like, cool, let's watch my DVD that I physically own. And it's an example of like, I'm glad I own a physical, because otherwise we have to go pay $5 or $10 to Amazon or Apple to just rent this movie.
There's all that hullabaloo about Power World, and that's a game that could get just straight up taken away from the like record-breaking Steam accounts have this game inside of them. Yeah. Actually, it's gone. It's it's gone. You no longer have the license to play that game. Nobody does. You know what I mean?
It's a slippery slope. I know Mr. Venecor had said it before too, and we preach it obviously because I'm a big physical guy. We preach it a lot, but it's like you have to be somewhat okay with them taking these things away from you. Yeah. If you're going to be okay with just this digital distribution.
You guys turned me into a physical guy, man.
Yeah. My Game Boy collection is getting big.
And because you just realize like there's a place for the digital, but there's a place for the physical too. And if it's not a happy middle point, if we try to take everything digital, even when like the Switch came out, for example, they had a huge push on digital only when the Switch first came out, which has been like 8 or so years now,
right?
Yeah. But they had a huge push on it's got this much space on it. The games are not very big because we're focused on gameplay, not on graphics and everything else,
right?
And they realized after a while like that's only got to be a portion of it. People still like to collect. They still want to have the physical of those, and I mean, yeah.
Nice. Well, I mean, Steam, we're giving you a pass, I'd say, because like Raph said, it's not like Game Pass with the rotation and the producing of many games. Steam doesn't make a lot of games that you know what I mean, they don't produce a lot of these games and do weird underhanded predatory you know what I mean, like Microsoft does with
I'm just saying you still find old games on Steam. I found Echo the Dolphin on Steam.
Which that's great. That's great when we talked about games that you just can't. It's very difficult to play on the original hardware, or even if you're a collector, you play retro games. Even myself, I don't ever have more than 1 or 2 retro consoles hooked up at a time, and I own like 18 retro consoles.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's nice sometimes to have that accessibility to that stuff too, but it just doesn't beat physically owning it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we love you, Steam, but maybe you should buy your games, which segues me perfect into our next section of the show, because we need to go back in time. I'm tired of all this news. Buck, will you and RetroGameTreasure.com just take us back in time real quick for me, please?
Let's go back in time.
Who's trying to kill you, Mr. Donut Head Man? I don't know, but they better not.
This game is not a bad game. Friday the 13th for the NES. Friday the 13th for the NES is not a bad game.
It's really funny. It's true.
Today
It's
for the
just
Retro Zone.
misunderstood like a shark.
Like
Constant low intensity hunger.
Constant low intensity hunger?
That's like a shark.
Oh.
Or Jason Voorhees. Today I bring to the Retro Zone Friday the 13th for the NES.
That's a beautiful copy you've got there.
Thank you. This is my
beautiful
personal
Donut
copy,
Plastique.
actually. I
Destroy Jason. What does it say?
destroy Jason if you can. If you can.
if you can.
Yeah.
With an exclamation point.
You're dead. All your friends are dead. Game over. You lose. This game
Yeah.
gets a bad rap. All right. I'm just going to
Yeah.
say it.
Okay, go on.
I don't know if it's a Retro Zone or
Explain.
Gem or whatever else, but I want to say this game has ET syndrome because it just gets shit on when it's really just because there's mechanics in it that you don't understand.
Yes.
And if you've ever watched like any of those kind of things or Angry Video Game Nerd talking about that, he's like, actually, this isn't that bad. It's just the instruction
got its
booklet that
fans.
sucks.
Yeah, it's got its fans.
Does it have multiple characters? Yes. Does it have multiple weapons? Yes. Does it have a mini map? Confusing, but yes, it exists.
Okay.
It's just misunderstood. You misunderstood.
Oh,
the
you're
Friday the
saying by
13th
all
game.
these things that it's got a lot of cool aspects to it.
It's got fun aspects
Okay.
to it. It's not a bad game. It's a little weird that there's
Explain
zombies
how
running around.
you play it, honestly, because there's probably a lot of people who have not played it.
That's fair. So in the Friday the 13th game, you play as a series of different camp counselors. You can switch between them normally on the fly, and you have an overview map that shows Camp Crystal Lake. It's got a couple of loops, like if you understand and know campgrounds, it's got an inner loop and like an outer loop, and they link to each other. You can walk around to the different cabins. You can go to some of the cabins by the lake. You're going to visit these different cabins, and you're trying to save some of the kids while keeping the counselors alive because Jason is stalking you because it's Friday the 13th, right?
Yeah.
So you can switch between the kids. You can heal the kids. I believe you can switch items between some of the kids if you find them inside of the actual campgrounds there. But Jason pops up periodically, and he's kind of a dick. He can either show up on the world map.
Jason's kind of a dick.
He's kind of a dick. He can show up on the world map. He can show up inside the cabins as well, and you have to fight him both ways. And it's got a neat little mechanic. You start off with simpler weapons like rocks and knives, and then you find better things like the fire, the torch, whatever they call it, weapons that can do harm to him. But the thing where it gets a bad rap is because it is a confusing game. It is a Nintendo Power Generation game. You have to go into the woods, which are very Zelda Lost Woodsy. Oh, wait, Zelda's a really good game. And you have to find the cave that has Jason's mom's head in it, like the second Friday the 13th movie. That's what you have to do. You have to go there. You have to defeat the mom's head to get access, or the easiest way to get access to the machete, which is the strongest weapon to fight against Jason, right? Or the fire, I believe, one of those two weapons you use to fight against him. And then you have to find Jason. You have to finally whittle him down and kill him. But then he's not dead. And he comes back again, and you have to find him, and you have to kill him again. All of this while...
Oh, really?
Yeah, he comes back.
I didn't know you have to do that twice. That's
Of
funny.
course,
It doesn't tell you any of this, too. Like, I mean,
it doesn't tell you
know.
anything.
Not very
and
well if it does.
Yeah, like I said, switching between the kids, him hunting the other counselors. What happens is, as the timer runs down, he's hunting the other counselors, which are the characters you play as. So the longer you take, the less characters you have access to hunt him down and kill him.
I didn't know that. I thought that was how about until he finds you. Interesting.
You are the counselors, and so he's not hunting you necessarily, but the counselors you're not actively playing as, he'll be hunting them. And then, he got Mark. I can't switch back to Mark, and he's one of the kids.
Oh, right,
has,
yeah,
the best
just sort of
jump.
that'll just pop up. It'll just say,
call them your lives,
This
right?
weirdly
That's
reminds
cool.
me of
That's
the
cool.
Home
Yeah,
Alone
actually.
game.
I was just gonna say, it
weird way,
reminds me
kinda.
if Goonies 2 and Home Alone had a baby.
Yeah.
So it's as cryptic as Goonies. It has
Yeah.
two different perspectives, like Goonies,
Mhm.
but it has this like sort of like roaming NPC like Home Alone that reminds me of like the fucking stalker enemies that we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right,
What confuses a lot of people is on the world map, when you're outside, you can only either other than moving up the paths to go to like the inner loop or back out to the outer loop, you can only move left or right.
Right.
And this confuses the fuck out of some people. Apparently they're UMAC, they're directionally challenged.
Yes.
You move left or right, and on the map they're like, well, you're moving clockwise or counterclockwise. Yeah, because one of them has to correspond to clockwise and one of them has to correspond to counterclockwise. It's not that fucking hard, people.
Oh, I see. So if you move to the right, you move counterclockwise.
Yeah, vice
Yeah,
versa. I forget off the top of my head what it is, but yeah, if you move to like the left, you're moving clockwise. It's pretty easy. You move a little bit to one direction, you check the map. There's a little fucking dot that's you, and you see which way you were moving. Then you put two and two together. That's the way you move. But people like to complain that the map is overworld map's clunky and everything else. No, you're wrong. You're dumb.
You're
You just gotta understand the way that a map works. If I go up on a map while I'm driving my car, that's called north.
Right, and it's almost like you have to imagine that since it goes right goes in one direction, whether you're at the top or not. You have to imagine that the camera's like circling you around the center of the of the campgrounds.
And so the only gripe that's weird is that there's zombies on the outside and there's wolves in the caves, and neither of those were obviously an enemy in it because it would have just been Jason coming after you over and over again.
Which they had a great game that is just Jason coming after you over and over
they
again.
Did, which
40 years later or whatever.
It was 30-something years later.
Yeah.
If any of you have played the newer Friday the 13th by Ilphonic and Gun Media, which unfortunately the lawsuit at the time totally killed that, and it is what it is.
It's just as relevant to talk about that as this, because is there another Friday the 13th game between those two?
No.
Isn't that fucking crazy?
No way.
NES and then PC and PS3 and
how is that possible?
Switch or
you know?
PS4.
I mean, I know the actual answer, but I'm just saying, like, what? That's a rhetorical
ongoing
question.
litigation and all that between
which has finally been resolved. And so the first thing that happened is Jason showed up in that fucking WB Smash Brothers ripoff.
Fuck yeah.
That's what we were all waiting for.
I like watching Buck play this game. I didn't like playing it as a kid because I didn't understand what the fuck was going on.
I didn't understand,
and it was scary because Jason just shows up on screen and then it just plays some music and I'm like, oh shit, and then he just kills me.
So I'm gonna give this Retro Zone is amazing. You should have this in your collection no matter what, because it's still a good game. Even though ignore this LJN logo, ignore this. It normally says I'm a piece of garbage. It's really not that bad of a game.
What year was that? I don't know. That's a trick. I hate doing these.
I know, and I need to
edit around you looking for it.
I need to start checking them because you always ask me, and I never. 1988.
Interesting.
So I'm gonna give a free shout out to a indie dev who is a super cool guy, and I know I'm talking retro.
Oh, I love a good indie dev.
I think this is a game you've talked about before on the podcast.
Yes, this game by James Interactive, which is just a guy, called Screaming Savage Blood Death. I know
we have definitely talked about this. On the podcast
I know we talked about it, but
it looks fucking sick.
If you look at this game, it is it's a love letter to the original Friday the 13th, just with more modern stuff. So
if this were to show up in your box, what would your settings be for a retro game?
So this is funny, right? After we added disc consoles, which was 7 or 8 years ago, we've been around for a decade, guys, believe it or not. When we added PS1, PS2, and those other ones, one of the things that I knew as a gamer that we needed to add as a genre was survival horror, because now you've got all the Resident Evils and Silent Hills and all that stuff too, right? And there's still a lot of those that fit into our boxes.
There, right on the cusp of survival horror.
It was. So this is what happened, right? If I went backwards, there were like 6 games for all of the consoles prior to PS1 that could technically fit into survival horror. And so if you have NES selected and you have survival horror selected, Friday the 13th is definitely a jam that you can get for your.
That's tight.
That's pretty wild, right?
That's awesome.
How accessible is this game? Just out of curiosity.
Not very at all.
Not very at all, because it's got, like Buck said, it's infamously shat on.
It's one I would definitely add to my collection,
unjustly.
honestly. Yeah.
It is, just because, like I said, it's one of those games where it's like, oh, I'm sorry, is it confusing? Did you have to learn some mechanics? Did you die while you were learning how to play it? Imagine,
right? Meanwhile, they'll play Ghosts and Goblins and be like, "Now this is a video game," and you're like, "Oh, come on, this is just as hard."
If you guys were watching any of our live streams, we've been streaming a lot of horror stuff, and one of Mac's streams from last week, he played Silent Breath. If you go back from when this podcast airs, and not only is that game terrifying, but one of the things you noticed was he died like 10 times in a row as he learned how all of the different ghosts and monsters responded. Like, so you just give up when the first one kills you?
That's a perfect segue. Let's go ahead and end today's Retro Zone. Thank you, RetroGameTreasure.com. Go today, make your profile, and start collecting games the easy way.
It's a great
Retro Zone. That's a good little slogan.
Yep.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to do our horror Steam. Okay, gentlemen, we're back. Cue lightning bolt. Cue bats. Cue a lady screaming. That's right. Today we're not relaxing. We're not taking a hot steam. Today, prepare to be spooked. We're taking a horror steam. Whoa. Scary cat. So today, as I said earlier, we're going to do a grab bag episode. We each brought a video game to the table. We have not compared notes before that. So I did see what Raph, I did see the name of the game that Raph is playing. And I did hear a little bit about the game that Buck is going to mention. Some cool shit out here. So let's just get right to it. Buck, what games have you been steaming in on the Steam platform? Speaking of Steam, we were just talking about how much we love Steam.
We do. Sometimes it spawns these into physical games, which is what I like. I'm gonna bring one. So my taste in horror games can be all over the place, and some of my favorites are ones that you could almost call horror adjacent. Like I like all kinds of horror movies, you know,
right.
and some of my favorites are ones that not necessarily cross the threshold between, like, I don't know, call it like voyeuristic horror or like comedy horror, like, you know, Ash versus Evil Dead or Army of Darkness, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But I also like ones where it's more like observational horror. You know, it's got scary moments, but it does not have you sitting on the edge of your seat about to crap your pants, like that Silent Breath game.
Interesting.
I'm actually bringing a game that came out last year by Team 17 called Killer Frequency.
Oh, I know this one.
We talked about this before.
Good choice.
Killer Frequency is they basically label it as a first-person horror puzzle game set in the year 1987. If you guys remember, we used to have people on the radio that talked in between songs. They were called DJs. And it puts you in the role of the late-night host of the radio talk show in a small town in America whose callers are being stalked by a mysterious killer. Basically, the premise is that there was a killer back in like the 50s or something like that called the Whistling Man. They never caught him. He went away, and he starts to show up again on like these spooky nights. I forget if it was leading up to Halloween or not. And so what's happening is the people are calling into your radio show in between the songs, and you're having to help them. So they're calling and they're like, I hear him. I hear the Whistling Man. He's here for me. And you can hear the whistling in the background. Yeah. He's like, what do I do? And he's at like the Thompson family corn maze. And you're like, wait a minute. And in between the calls, you get to explore the radio station in the different rooms that you're in. You have to, like Mac loves to do a job. You have to do all the radio station stuff. Also, you have to play the laugh track, and you have to switch the songs, and you have to hit the buttons and all those things. But while you're exploring the radio station, you go up to the front desk, and things start to spook you a little bit. You're checking for locked doors and whatnot. You see the receptionist has gone home early. She was sick, and you see some notes on her desk, whatever else. Fine. But when the guy, for instance, calls about being chased by the killer, and he's at the corn maze, you remember that you saw in the trash up at the receptionist desk a copy of the Thompson family whatever corn maze, brochure, and on the back of it is the map for the maze.
Yeah.
So you run back to your station and you get on the phone with the guy and you walk him through with a series of prompts. He tells you what he sees in front of him, and you have to look at the map and you have to talk him through it. Yeah. And so throughout the game, these different puzzles like this play out. You have to pay attention to what the callers are saying and doing. but at the same time you're getting closer and closer to the killer, so it starts to get more dangerous for you in the radio station, like with just you and your producer there at night, or by yourself in there at night.
That game kicks ass.
Damn, I'm so glad you brought this up because I have never actually played Killer Frequency, but I've watched a lot of YouTubers play it. And it's really cool, man. Like the music, it's an immersive sim that's also a horror game.
Yes,
it's kind of
I
like
love that.
You know, that's the thing. It's so cool. You can play the music, do all the DJ stuff, but then you also have to do things like read the map and like try to guide people, or like, oh, I have a schematic of like the office building that you're in or whatever. It's so cool, man. Good game.
It's like Phasmophobia we talked about. It would be, I guess, 2 weeks ago now as of this recording.
That one's good.
Yeah, that I love getting spooked while trying to function. Trying to do something.
Yes.
Yeah, it sucks you into, like you had said before about Phasmophobia, kind of the mundanity, but it's not mundane. It's fun. It's entertaining to do the DJ stuff and to talk to the people as well there too.
It's not
and the
dull.
Story,
it's like repetitive.
But the story is engaging, and it keeps you interested in that and stuff. You know, like I said, spooky stuff starts to happen around. What's that? The voice acting is really
good in
good
this game. Yeah, the voice acting is really good. Like it's a good game. Very cool aesthetic too.
That's some of my favorite type of horror games.
Isn't there another game that's like that? Like it has you're literally like, isn't there a full motion video game that's also you're a radio guy?
Yes, it's called Not for Broadcast. Right.
There you go. I haven't seen that one, but the trailer. But yeah.
So I own that one, and it also has a season pass. And they did do like a murder mystery spooky one like a year or two back, which was kind of fun, but it didn't have as much content as their normal stuff. Their normal stuff did.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's a cool game. You said did you have another one, or did you want to save that for your? What else you got?
No, I do have another one.
Okay,
go. Along the same motif as well too. Another one that you guys, you both, I think, would really enjoy this game.
Okay.
It's by No Code developers, No Code, and the publisher, one of our favorites, Devolver Digital.
Mm-hmm.
That's Stories Untold.
Oh, okay. I have this on the Switch.
Have you seen this before? Oh, such a great game.
Really?
How do you play it on How do you play Abandoned House on the Switch?
It's not as good on the Switch as it is on PC.
So Stories Untold is actually a collection of games, and I haven't played them all, but specifically Chapter 1 will grab you. They had a first hit episode that was free on a lot of platforms. It's called The House Abandoned.
Yeah.
And the way it presents itself is it's one of those old school text-based adventures. You can play this first chapter in like 20-30 minutes.
Yeah, it's very
short. So you're playing on an old, Apple-looking computer, but it's zoomed out a bit, kind of like a Little Brother vision, Mac. It's you sitting at your desk. The monitor to your computer only takes up like the left half or third of the screen, and the rest on your desk is like the console and a lamp and a telephone, some other things.
Whoa.
And you're actually playing an old text-based horror adventure, but things start to take a dark turn as you play and start to understand and experience. Lightning hits the building, and no spoilers, but things get turned upside
this is
down.
So exactly my fucking shit. It's crazy.
You would
what
love it.
The fuck? This is Devolver Digital.
Yeah.
This I'm just looking at it in Steam right now, and it looks.
It's cheap too, right? Like,
I don't even want to spoil what it looks like, but it looks
I think I spent
like my
on
shit.
It on the Switch. That's the only reason I bought it when it was on sale on the Switch. It was super cheap.
Yeah, I think it's $10 now. It's Steam, been out. It's a 7 or 8 year old game now. It's been out, and I don't know when a House Abandoned, but I need to play the rest of the chapters, just the short and the long of that, because I played that first one. It'll blow you away. That first one, you will play that, and it will leave an imprint on you like a good M. Night Shyamalan movie leaves an imprint on you.
Wow.
Like a good one.
Holy shit, that looks awesome. Wow. Untold Story, or Stories Untold. Yeah, Stories Untold on Steam. Damn. That is a good one. That is a good horror Steam. I want.
You can't talk about it a lot
because
immediately. You can't talk about it a lot because it's very short. But that is a good stream game to warm up, because you will beat it. You will beat Chapter 1 in 20-30 minutes. Yeah. Not super long, but you will love every second of it. It never before has a text anything game engrossed you like they just don't anymore, right?
I don't think I've ever played a text adventure game
because they came out at a time when you had to use all that imagination because you didn't have those kind of games accessible to you. So
and now I got that imagination.
You go back and play them now, and you're like, you go back and play them now, and you just be like,
Yeah.
A lot of them didn't
I got
age
no
well.
imagination no more.
Some of them did, but a lot of them did not.
Yeah. Nice. Well, that is a good ass looking game. Raph, would you like to go next on our horror steam here?
I would,
I would.
So I played a game this week that I've actually played the first chapter of partially before. I never finished it. I got it a while back as part of a bundle on itch.io, and I saw it on Steam. I think it was on sale this week. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to get the whole thing. They finally released the full trilogy of this series as one game, and it's excellent. And that's Faith, the Unholy Trinity. This game is developed by Airdorf Games and published by New Blood Interactive. I think New Blood also produced a couple of David Zemansky games like Iron Lung, Dusk, and all that sort of stuff. This came out in October of 2022, so it's not that old. Not necessarily a new game either. But I love the tagline for this game, and I'm going to do my best Microsoft Sam voice. And the tagline is, "What you are about to do has not been approved by the Vatican." So honestly, like Faith is just, it's like playing through The Exorcist, but it's done in the style of an old Atari 2600 game.
It looks wild.
I love this art style.
You should definitely play it. I recommend it for both of you guys because it is an excellent game. You will have to kind of maybe look a few things up because it is not easy. That's the thing.
Okay.
It's a very hard game. But
like Friday the 13th.
Yeah, like Friday the 13th, really. Or E.T., which it looks a lot more like E.T., really. So it's a simple game in style. It looks like I said, like an old Atari game, but you play as a priest that was part of a botched exorcism in like 1986 or something like that. A lot of people died, and you have decided to come back. I believe your name is like Father John or something like that. I'm not sure, but you've come back to try to finish the job. Dude, this game is a lot deeper and a lot scarier than you think it is just by looking at it.
I don't know. It looks pretty deep and scary.
It looks pretty scary.
Dude, yeah. Like the story gets pretty wild. The sound effects, the very harsh, like hearing Moonlight Sonata done on like the Atari style sound chip constantly, because that's what's playing the entire time while you're exploring the forest is Moonlight Sonata.
Wow.
So fucking, my hair is standing
Resident
up on
Evil,
my arms right now just thinking about this
Resident
game.
Evil flashbacks with some Moonlight Sonata.
If you listen, I put a video in the Discord chat of the demon. It's not a demon, but it's the possessed child, Michael Davies.
Oh, yeah, I want to see.
But he says some the craziest lines I've ever seen, which are like,
here it is.
Yeah, play it.
I go unwillingly. You know nothing. I have the body of a pig.
That's fucking awesome.
Sometimes you're walking through the woods and he'll show up and say those lines while running at you, and you have to turn and point a crucifix at him to get him to leave you.
Cool.
You point the crucifix and he'll leave. Wow. But yeah, my favorite one is I have the body of a pig, which I found out is a biblical reference. The famous demon Legion. In the Bible, there's a scene where these two possessed men, Jesus comes, exorcises them, throws the demon into a bunch of pigs. The pigs jump off a cliff into the ocean. That's the demon Legion. It's also a reference to an old YouTube video of these dudes who were walking around an old like abandoned building, and they were recording electronic voice phenomenon, and they found a voice on the recording that said, "I have the body of a pig," which super spooky, but also probably fake, but whatever.
Dude, this
and the powers to bewitch.
Yeah, Faith is scary, man. It's a really good game, and it honestly just like it surprised me as to how engrossed I was. Like, I'm gonna finish this thing for sure. I was thinking about doing one of the chapters, or maybe just starting it over and just doing it on stream because it's so cool and interesting. But yeah, man, this game serves up a startlingly mature and tense experience for something so simple. I was actually extremely compelled to keep playing it, despite how difficult it is. And like, seriously, don't be mistaken. This game is frightening and atmospheric. Like the harsh music, the somber sort of like the old priest who's regretted his failures in the past. There's a scene where he talks about how he feels like he's failed his own God. It's crazy. So good.
Dude, it looks amazing.
Dude,
just the Google Images search page is just like, I love when it reminds me of that. What was that World of Horror?
Yes,
and a couple other games that take the lo-fi aesthetic, but then kind of cheat. a little bit because
yeah.
it has Atari graphics, but not really. Like
It also has
it has some
full-on-
extra accoutrement that like make it like
so
whoa,
good.
what the fuck? Like,
Well, the cutscenes are all rotoscoped. They're all like
I was gonna
rotoscoped,
say
so
that it looked
I-
like it was Atari rotoscoped when the
does
look
priest
like-
was like
okay,
holding up.
wow.
Oh, that makes so much sense now.
dude,
Yeah, I highly
that's
recommend
wild.
this game, honestly. If you haven't played it, honestly, if one of you guys want to play it on stream just to see someone else's experience for the first time with this game, it's so
that
cool.
would be awesome to see.
Yeah.
It made me think
Yeah.
right away. When does that Tenebris Somnia game come out again? The one that's like a hybrid FMV slash.
Oh,
point and
yeah,
click.
dude, that
It's
game
not
looks
out
so
yet. Still,
cool,
it's
yeah.
next
yeah,
year. But it was
I don't
like,
know if you know who Joel Haver, the YouTuber, is.
Oh, yes,
but
I love
he
Joel
does
Haver, yeah.
a form of rotoscoping, and that was the first thing I thought. This looks like some sort of horrifying Atari.
If
Joel
you haven't
Haver.
seen Joel Haver, guys, definitely check out
He's
Joel Haver
amazing,
because
yeah.
his
Cool.
videos are fantastic.
Wow, this looks fucking tight. How much was this on
Yes.
Steam? Do you remember? I'm sure you already
$15.
said that.
I
Like
think I
15
paid it. I
bucks.
paid like $15 for it, maybe, but normally
Nice.
it's like $20 or something like that. It's totally
Holy
worth
shit.
it. I just like a couple
looks
of my
cool as
favorite
hell.
lines that fucking Michael has said in the game is one, I have the body of a pig. Fantastic.
fantastic.
Let's see. Oh, you know nothing, pendejo is like one of my favorite ones too. It's just like, yeah,
No
it's good
magic.
shit, man. I highly recommend it. Faith, the Unholy Trinity.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, the game that I played most recently on Steam, horror wise, is a game by Exodiac Studios, published and developed in April of this year, so pretty recently, and it is Silent Breath. Buck said it earlier. I played it. I streamed it earlier today of this recording, which was last week as of this release. Silent Breath is a first-person horror adventure game. I guess it's certainly you don't shoot or do anything but be
Get
in first
terrified.
person and walk around. I wanted to sort of address the look of the game first before, because I think I can explain the gameplay very quickly. But I wanted to say that the thing that drew me to this game and seeing it on YouTube was, holy shit, this looks fucking crazy. And what I mean by that is it is made in Unreal Engine 5, and it uses that body cam filter that a lot of games now actually have. Like there's like the SWAT team games that have them, and it basically adds like, it's as if it's a dome shaped body cam lens, and so it adds like a slight bit of like barrel effect where like the center of the screen is slightly bulged out.
Like a wide
And
lens, yeah.
they add like a VHS like scrubbing effect to the footage, and like some interesting things with the depth of field. Like if you, I don't know what is exactly happening, but I know if you if you move suddenly in front of something that's very close to you, it actually takes a moment for your focus to like adjust to the thing that's in front of you.
It looks real.
God,
It,
I
it
didn't
looks,
notice that.
looks
Yeah, it looks too real.
so scary real.
it
And
looks like Blair Witch Project.
It
That's what it looks
does.
like.
I was thinking that earlier when I was playing, and I was like, this is just, I know there are Blair Witch Project games, and I know like one of them is kind of okay, but this was where I was like, this is a Blair Witch Project fucking game. I mean, this is fucking ridiculous. So that's the look. So the gameplay, it's basically, it is Slender Man in the 5 pages
right?
with more.
Mm.
So it is it's instead of just like in Slender Man in the 5 pages where it's just like, don't look at him. Instead, you're walking around the woods and there's a bunch of different fucking monsters that are trying to get you, and they all have like different rules. So you got the Slender Man, don't look at him, but then you also got one where it's just like, don't stop looking at him. Like it's like Weeping Angel rules. And then you got a guy that will like tell you to not move, and you have to literally stand still. And then you got the opposite of a guy who would tell you like, go hide, and you got to fucking bolt to the nearest building you can find. There's a person, there's one that where you got to turn your flashlight off. There's one that makes you turn your flashlight on. Like, so you have a bunch of different Slender men out there that you have to fucking deal with.
It's spooky, Simon Says.
And then the above all else, this is all above the floor of the way this, the main mechanic, I guess, of this game, the main way to die is by making too much noise in real life. So you calibrate your microphone before the game starts, and it basically uses the honor system to be like, okay, so you do a scream, and you adjust this microphone bar until it just hits the scream, because like, you know, don't make it too easy, but don't make it too hard either. So I do my screen testing before I play or whatever, and if after nightfall, because the game starts with this horrifying cutscene where you're a detective and there's these 5 people who have been murdered and you have to go find their bodies in the woods. Those are the 5 pages of the Slender Man 5 pages. And you have like an in-game hour basically of sunlight before the sun goes down and the monsters start fucking with you. And so there's like several areas that are in the same place every time you play. So it's like, all right, the graveyard's over here, behind the graveyard's the church, then here's the farm. But the bodies don't generate at every place. They generate at different locations and at different places within those locations. So, like I said, you get like the hour of in-game time with daylight, and then beyond that, you are just fucking trying your best to run through the woods at night without getting absolutely horrified by the things that attack you. They are very frightening monsters too. These guys watched me play earlier.
Scary, dude.
There's like a big spider lady, and then like
horrible
chainsaw pig guy. You got a mouth face monster guy. You got a guy that's just like a giant torso. Like he's got like 4 little stumpy legs and then a huge torso, and then all he does is just like run at you screaming, trying to get you to like go Dip! So that you'll hurt yourself, because unlike Slender Man in the 5 pages or whatever, where like when you see Slender Man, it's just like you lose. He caught you. In this game, when you do the yelling thing, you can yell like 3 times before the game fully breaks and you're out. You get a cut, like your screen will begin to crack every time you yell. And after 3 cracks, the screen breaks. I will also say that there are monsters that will like get you if you don't comply to their Simon Says thing. So like the main one is, I believe there's these tooltips, and it says something about like the sisters. And they have requests for you, and they are the ones that will say like, "Don't move, I want to smell you," and then you have to just like and stop moving. And oh man, there's a guy that's just like a Wild West gunman who's just like, he just seems like a guy from Hunt who's just out there shooting a gun like randomly
to scare you.
And so you'll just be like running through the woods if you're me,
in silence,
and then you just like to your right, you just say like, and I'm just like, fuck, shit, God, it's the fucking gun guy.
And then he'll show up like right in front of you while you're running through the woods.
if you swing within his field of vision and it like activates him, it'll just do a jump scare. It's just him shooting you from point blank, and it's just trying to get you to, like I said, go like that, so that you'll take some damage.
Magical.
There's a crazy lady that's like the Ring. Oh, sorry.
I was this close while you were playing today to just straight up scaring you by scratching on your window.
I egged him on. I told him I egged him on.
That would have horrified me. I probably wouldn't have heard it. I hope I wouldn't have heard it.
I would have made me shit myself. Like, no, I'm not gonna. That's rude. I feel like that. No, that would have been vile.
I wish Benny was here so we could talk about. So when last year when he was streaming, we had a horror goal incentive for him, and the stream got to pick what game he played. He had to play Inside the Back Rooms.
That's a good one.
For a couple nights of stream straight. So on his 2nd or 3rd night of streaming it, he gets totally into it, and it's freaking him out, right? Me and my wife text his wife and say to her, his streaming room was in their garage, like a nice finished air-conditioned garage. And we text her like, hey, he's streaming scary game. Go scare him. She goes on the outside of their house to their garage door and he's got headphones on, doing just like you do, and she bangs on the garage door.
That's horrifying.
And
that would fuck me up.
Live streaming, and he goes,
that's so funny.
She came in like a minute later and was like, I got you. And we were like, Buck and Emily put me up to it.
That's funny. Nothing too deep about this one. No snob hat coming out for this one, I'd say. It's a cheap experience on Steam that's great for streaming. I would say if you're a streamer, it'll cause some great hilarious moments. Earlier today, this one ghost whispered in my ear and then jumped in front of my face, and it scared me so bad that I jolted in my seat and kicked my computer under my desk and gashed my knee open. Like put a 3-inch long cut in my leg. And then I was just like, my leg hurts. And then I touched down and felt blood, and I was like, holy shit, the game scared me so bad I actually fucking hurt myself. But yeah, man.
Should this come with a disclaimer?
It's got a great variety of monsters in it. It's like I said, it's I don't know if I'll ever go back to it unless it's to stream it again, because it's funny to watch me just have a hard time playing it. But I would say it's we talked about in our Phasmophobia episode, the having your brain be preoccupied sort of helps you deal with the enemies, like Buck said earlier in this episode, because by the end of the stream, I was able to identify, like, okay, I know how to not get killed by this guy, so I just got to do this. So it was actually scaring me less because I had more to think about. So, to improve upon that Slender Man formula, it gives you more enemies, so it gives you more stuff to think about. So it's like more game in that way. And like I said, you should just play it to be like, this looks crazy. Like, what the
Pretty
fuck?
sure you
game?
stopped breathing at one point, though.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
honestly,
because
like,
you literally can't. After night falls, you can't be as so loud. There's a little monitor you can see, so you can. If you're doing streaming, you can kind of like whisper like this. But besides that, I'm just like trying not to make any sound at all. But yeah, it was cool. It was fun. I had more fun with it than I thought. I thought it would just be like, I don't know, I'll play this for like 30 minutes and I probably won't get very far. But after like that,
for like
an hour and a half, and then towards the end there, I was just like, oh, I feel like I can get 3 pages, and these last 2 that I just it's so hard to navigate in the dark, but I want to get them because I'm like, I feel like I'm doing good evading the enemies. I'm getting smarter. I'm getting better. So it was cool. I liked it. Silent Breath on Steam.
Hell yeah.
Go and pick it up when it's on sale on Steam. Okay, that does it. That does it for our horror Steam today. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to hit up our What Else You Got, and then we'll get on out of here. Okay, gentlemen. It's the end of our show, and you know what that means. It's time for me to ask you, what else have you got for us this week? The segment of our show where we're allowed to bring anything to the table, be it video game or otherwise. This week, I am bringing a video game. It's not a horror video game because I'm horrored out. I played Silent Hill. I'm going to play more Silent Hill. I played this game. I'm like, that is so much horror right now. I also took time to play a regular game. And the game that I played is War Groove 2.
Oh yeah, I've been watching it.
Buck, have you ever played War Groove or War Groove 2?
I don't think so.
War Groove 2 is developed and published by a company called Chucklefish in 2023, and it is a
it's like
Advanced Wars clone.
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
So I'm playing it on Game Pass, but it absolutely scratches. I've been looking for a copy of Advanced Wars on the Game Boy Advance for a hot second now. And this scratches that itch, not exactly, but pretty dang closely, I would say. So a couple things that are different about it. One biggest thing is your HQ is not just like a sort of disembodied character that you play as like in Advanced Wars, where it's like, if you're the Orange Army, Andy is your leader. His power is this. When you charge up your super, it gives everyone blank. Right. In this game, your HQ unit is an actual unit on the board that you play with, more like in Warhammer 40K, where he's like a beefy ass single thing that has one specific thing that he's good at, and then usually has a power that has like 2 meter levels to it. And then secondly, the other thing that this differs from Advanced Wars in is that it has, while it has no RPG elements, it certainly has like a fully fleshed out RPG level storyline that accompanies the missions. So in Advanced Wars, the storyline is that you're at war. So like the in-between parts would just be like, we found war over here and we got to do war. You know, like it would literally be like the exposition would be Andy talking to one of the other like Orange Army generals and just being like, found some bad guys. Whoa, gotta fucking kill them. You know what I mean? Like they wouldn't talk about how they felt and shit. You know what I mean? But in War Groove 2,
get your feelings out of my war.
You ever wonder if we don't want to kill these?
It reminds me more of what's that game you play with the child soldiers, Buck?
Oh, Fuga.
It's like that, where it's just like it's about war, but it's not just like it's about it's about the main army that you're playing with at the beginning of the game has landed, like has got separated from its other armada during a big raid and has landed in a continent that it has never been on. And there's tons of exposition in it, which is a double-edged sword. That's my my long and short review of this game, is that it is almost Advance Wars in gameplay, which I really, really like. But I've maybe only been playing it for like 7 hours, and I've begun skipping all of the dialogue because while it is funny, there's so fucking much of it. Like it actually is quite funny. I will give it that credit. But goddamn, just don't really care because I just kind of want to play a turn-based like tactical RPG, you know what I mean? Like I don't know, those games I never not like maybe Final Fantasy Tactics is the only one that's balanced exposition with tactical gameplay that I've really been able to fuck with. But yeah, it's a good game. I'm gonna probably continue to play it just because I fucking love Advance Wars and it's basically the same thing, capturing buildings, going to attack people, and then it cuts into a cutscene. You got a bunch of different units. You got things like APCs, basically, but they're carriages because the whole thing's medieval themed. You play as a bunch of mice, which
cool.
is cute. So it reminds me of like Redwall or some shit. You're like fighting badgers and bugs and whatnot. But yeah, it's cute. It's on Game Pass. And if you
they can take it away from you at any time.
And if you like Advance Wars, but you can't get your hands on a copy and there's no way to play Advance Wars because you don't want to buy Reboot Camp, go play War Groove 2. Buck, what else have you got for us this week?
Speaking of Warhammer, the new edition of Kill Team came out.
Nice.
Kill Team beautiful. Edition in 3.0 Hive Storm. And I have been painting my Vespids. They are almost done. Look at this guy. All I gotta do is left his base him.
Ooh, his model. Their models look way better than they did before. Before they were so old school Warhammer.
Yeah, most of them do not have the cool helmet. This is the leader dude. I can't hold him up close because he'll get blurry because of my camera. Yeah. But I got pretty much all of them done except for the basing, which they just needs some extra coats in there too. But they're pretty much done there. They did get these models did get a really cool update.
Cool as fuck.
They have never gotten an update since those pewter Vespids from like 20.
Could you theoretically use a cadre of those in Warhammer 40K now in a Tau army, I guess, in substitute of the other models?
Yeah, it was part of one of the things they had kind of been doing. This actually comes with a squad of 10 and a drone, even though you only need 9 of them, because, I think you can. But the interesting thing is at the same time when they made this transition, so I've been playing 40K, Warhammer 40,000 for a long, long time, like since middle school, so it's literally 30 years for me.
We got to get Space Marine, too.
Kill Team, I know I do.
Yeah.
Kill Team is the skirmish version of that, and it was originally created in like 2018 or 19 as like the gateway game to Warhammer 40K, and as of this edition, this third edition, it has blown up so much that they have announced that this is going to be supported now as its own standalone game completely. It's not going to be the gateway game anymore. There's another game called Boarding Action. So what that means is more really cool bespoke armies for this game.
They hadn't just officially decided that?
No, because they didn't know how popular it was going to be, and they didn't know in normal Games Workshop fashion, they weren't sure if that was going to be bad for them, because if someone just buys one Kill Team and they only get $50 out of you, then why would they do that when they could release an army and get $1,000 out of you and then re-release them every 4 or 5 years and make you buy new units and such? So with this, they already did that. They've already announced another set of two war bands past these guys, and one of them is a new Commandos Orc. Bespoke one with a bunch of big hulking orcs, which is cool. And the other one is the Ratlings, which if you don't know what those are, Ratlings are basically hobbits.
Oh, wait, what? I thought it was going to be like Skaven. It's not Skaven?
Oh, dang it. I love hobbits. Well, we've got a bunch of hobbits now in Kill Team, which is kind of cool.
Why not
big hairy feet?
Kill Team.
There's literally a little guy that does resupply, and in there with ammo and other things is a meat pie because they're hobbits.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious, and he has a little sausage hanging out of his one satchel bag too, because they're hobbits.
That is so silly.
This
one takes place in space. Yes.
Yes, it's true. But we still have hobbits. It's fine.
Yeah, sure.
We still have space elves. They're just space elves.
Hobbits.
That's right.
The
coolest. So if you have ever been interested in getting into this game, because Kill Team is the one where you only need like a unit of like 5 to 10 guys instead of like a paint.
It's cool. It kicks ass.
It's so much better than having to buy a huge army of hundreds of figures and playing a 4-hour game of Warhammer 40,000, because you can play this in like an hour and a half, and it's way less.
And the terrain.
To learn it. The terrain is so cool. There's new terrain with this set. The Vulcus is the name of it that
It's a
came
lot
with it.
easier to fill out a board of this game than it is to, like, you ever play a game, your first game of Warhammer 40K with your friend, and you have no so you just put like a Kleenex box in the middle,
That's
and you're
okay.
like, oh,
That's
there's a
too.
mountain there. You know what I mean? But in this game, your board is much smaller. And so if you put a Kleenex board thing in the middle of it, boom, that's a good obstacle. You know what I mean?
Well, what they decided with this was when they release a set, they're going to treat this almost as if like how Blizzard treats Overwatch, and they're doing it in seasons. And so this one has a new set of terrain that basically for the whole next year, they've got missions and they release new missions all based around this one. But what they did is they took the last 2 seasons terrain and they also based new missions around those too. So you can keep using the terrain that you have with new stuff.
You literally go online to like read the rule updates. It's actually a really good idea.
It's interesting, and what they did with this new
it's
one
like
is
adding new maps to hunt or something. It's literally like Kill Team got a new map.
It's
literally, I have it right here in my hands.
Yeah.
I'm gonna super glue it together later, and then it has its own unique rule set and like all new shit. Yeah, it's cool.
And what they did was, since they had to update all of the warbands from the previous ones, all the kill teams, they released an app and they put out new rules for 30 plus kill teams, the ones from the last set, because they had to update it. And I'll be honest, I've only played a couple games of this new set, but hot damn did they make a lot of great improvements. Like, there's not a better time to check out this game because they streamlined quite a few things that were a little bit confusing. And while it's still not super, super easy, it's way better than it used to be, and it's way more streamlined to play a game.
Hell yeah. Fantastic. That is Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team.
Mm-hmm.
Go and check that out. That kicks ass. Raph, what else have you got for us this week?
Well, I guess as of this episode airing, it'll be about a week ago, but I started streaming a game called Mouthwashing.
So weird.
It was really weird, yeah, and I actually had a really good time with it. I didn't expect it to be as emotional and poignant as it was. I expected more of a straightforward horror game, but I got more of a psychological horror game. If you want a brief breakdown of the premise of it, the beginning, you play as the captain of a space like freighter cargo ship called the Tulpar. And early on in the beginning, you, for some reason, decide to crash it into a asteroid. I don't know why, but the main character has decided to take it upon themselves to kill himself and the rest of the crew with himself. Unfortunately, it doesn't take, and you are left maimed and dismembered and kind of like still alive at the mercy of the crew that you have tried to kill and have now doomed to a slow death in space. The rest of the game is taking place back and forth in flashbacks and flash forwards, where you play as either Curly or Jimmy, who is the first mate who ends up becoming the acting captain. And yeah, you're just trying to keep the crew together as their sanity slowly deteriorates in this very frightening situation. And then on top of it, you guys try to check the cargo to see if maybe there's some food or medicine in there. And what you find is that the cargo is actually full of millions upon millions of boxes of mouthwash. No food, just mouthwash. And
is it an adventure game or what? How is it?
It's almost like a walking sim, but it does this weird stuff where like the game is very aware that it's a game. And sometimes the game will glitch out in between scenes. I'll turn around and I get this crazy sort of like, I don't even know how to describe it, but like
I was watching your stream and I literally typed into the chat, "Are you about to get into an Ava?" Like it looked like a LCL fluid warning.
Right.
It was
like
weird.
Everything would just warp and get weird. But yeah, the crew basically starts drinking this mouthwash to get drunk. And yeah, it further deteriorates the mental health of the crew. It's wild. I don't even want to get too much into it. I started
you play from you just walk around from a first person perspective.
Yeah. You're playing from a first person perspective. Every once in a while, there's sections like Inscription where you're kind of like point and click kind of adventure shit. And you have an inventory that reminds me a lot of the Silent Hill inventory. But yeah, it's a very incredibly psychological game. And I think the high point for me is the dialogue and the characters. The characters are all very well made, well fleshed out. Each one of them is very unique. There's about, I think, 4 or 5 of them all together. So there's not much to have to when you have a lot of characters, you're trying to make a bunch of unique characters. You're going to have some that aren't that interesting, but every single character is their own unique sort of thing. You have Anya, who is the nurse on the crew, but she's not very good at that job, and she's very anxious about the job. The Curly, who is the captain, has been horribly maimed and disfigured, and she is grossed out by that. And so you, as the acting captain, has to constantly give Curly his medicine, his pain medicine, because she's too grossed out by the fact that he's fucked up like that to see it, to do it.
What the
Those
fuck?
scenes were pretty messed up, man.
Sewas, who is the engineer, and he's insane. He's out of his fucking mind. He doesn't like anybody on the crew. He decides to break his sobriety by drinking this mouthwash and getting fucking obliterated. And at some point, I don't know how this happened, because it happened in one of the flash forwards, but Sewas was chasing me with a fucking axe.
Fun.
So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I plan on finishing it on stream, either as of this episode airing a week ago, or I might try to finish it within a week or so when the next video airs. But yeah, dude, that's mouth washing. It's pretty cool. I thought it was pretty gnarly.
The title's so weird.
I love video
but it makes sense.
games.
Yeah,
man, they're
same.
so cool. Sometimes
Art,
you get
man,
some
it's
real
art.
kick-ass video games out there. Well, hey, that sounds fucking crazy, and that's our show. With that crazy thing you just said, that crazy video game, that does it for another episode of the Game Treasure Podcast. Do us a huge favor, like and subscribe, and if you're just listening to this, head on over to our Instagram at the Game Treasure Podcast, where you can see our hilarious facial features on your phone while you poop, in case you just listen to the podcast. And also, don't forget, you can email us at gametreasurepodcast@gmail.com with any questions or comments you might have. Maybe you want us to play your game. That would be cool. We haven't gotten that. You can find links to that and more at our linktree.com/TheGTP. We want to thank Crunkwitch for the use of our theme song, Clash of the Droids. You can find them on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, anywhere you can find music on the internet. They are a great power couple electronic rock band that's like if Queen was a two-piece that was a married, like,
that's a pretty good
I don't
way to
know,
put
like
it.
a two-piece electronic band that's a married couple. It's cute as fuck. And of course, hey, we would like to thank RetroGameTreasure.com, owned and operated by Buck, aka the Mega Buck himself. Retro Game Treasure is a subscription service that sends collectors customized boxes of retro video games every month. Customize how? By me? Do I have to do all the customizing? Nope. You simply go to www.retrogametreasure.com and you will receive games tailored to fill out your collection. They will be shipped to your house. They'll be at your door, Matt. There will be games for you to play. How does Buck know what games that I want? How does he know what games that I can even play? Well, what you do is after you make your profile on www.retrogametreasure.com, you set your personal preferences, your customer profile preferences. So you tell them what game systems that you have and what game genres you like, right? So you might say, I own a Super Nintendo, I own a PlayStation, and I like fighting games, and I like racing games. So then, at the end of the month, in your box will be Nintendo and PlayStation games that are either and or racing fighters. Is there a racing fighter? I guess you can fight as the car.
Fighting Vipers, yeah.
Yeah,
there
you go. There you go. Go to www.retrogametreasure.com today and sign up, because Retro Game Treasure has been obsessed with video games since 1985. Buck, hit me with those new subscribers, please.
Welcoming this week is Tim Hicks, Sam Junchaya, Justin Baker, and Shane Gladding. Everybody, don't forget also, we've got our Boxed Genesis giveaway ending pretty soon, so make sure to get your entries in there for that.
You heard him. If you are a subscriber, go to Facebook, like those posts, comments, tag them, do all the stuff. My name is Max Stein, and I love the Game Treasure Podcast. It's so bad.
It's so bad.